Well, guys, there you see it. Breaking news at Real Madrid just a few minutes ago. Mbappe hospitalized due to an acute case of gastroenteritis. I thought it was related to cold that had gotten complicated, hence the fever and all. No, no, no. It is. Well, Xavi mentioned it yesterday. It's true, the viral process, but I didn't know it was that serious. The presuntesa, the medical report just published by the club on its website and all social networks state our player Kylian Mbappe presents an acute case of gastroenteritis and has been hospitalized for various tests and to apply the necessary treatment. Well, if we thought we might see him in the match against Pachuca, we should let go of that hope because today, which is Thursday, 3 days before the match, they're hospitalizing him. Complicated, but we'll see if he can be there for the third match and the rest of the competition. Man, I think Madrid can comfortably advance as the group leader in this first phase without Mbappe. But damn, we didn't think that this was going to be like this. Well, and what I just said, I said it a little lightly because yesterday we had a lot of problems to beat Al Hilal. In fact, we tied and they could have beaten us. Perfectly. The first half was terrible. In the second half, Madrid, I think, deserved perhaps more. In other words, either team could have won in the end, but the team, and we'll talk more about that later with Quique Recio, and now a small glimpse with footage, with footage of some parts of the match to analyze the sporting side. But then with Quique, we'll analyze a little more, and we will dedicate a monographic video to the point. The sensations were not good. Xabi Alonso already explained that this will not be fixed in 4 days. Courtois said the same thing. There are those who have interpreted Courtois' statement, by the way, I think wrongly, in the sense of, look, what Ancelotti is saying, right? That there were automatisms with Ancelotti, and getting rid of those automatisms is not done in 4 days, as if it were something derogatory towards the Italian coach. I think not. He is explaining something very, very normal. With one coach, you play one way and have that momentum, and with another, you play differently. Now, the routines with Ancelotti, I think, were unfortunately being lost, so there weren't many left. But anyway, with one, you played one way, and with another, differently. But, well, this is the breaking news. Let's see what happens. I hope that if he has to spend the next few hours in the hospital, it will be very little. Not even that he has to spend the night, but well, since we don't have more information, I can't say more, but it is worrying, especially because we imagine that the situation could escalate more. All right, this is what I was referring to earlier about we were going to see some plays. Let's look at some collective plays of Madrid without the ball or trying to recover it and running all over like headless chickens. And then something about Vinicius. Both this one and the other one about Vinicius have gone viral, which we will get to shortly. But look, here are moments of a moment of the match where Al Hilal, seemed like Real Madrid, and Real Madrid like Al Hilal, right? Although it must be said that the Arab team has quite interesting people. The thing is, well then, as it usually happens with these teams, it is an addition of figures from here and there. The same could be said about European teams like Chelsea, right? They have been picking people from everywhere, right? Well, Real Madrid itself, but the richness and source that European clubs have, they don't have it. Yeah. Besides this, in Arabia, it has been done in the way it has been done by force of a checkbook. Only 4 teams, but very quickly and in a somewhat haphazard way. Yet they are starting to play reasonably well at football. These, I think, are the champions of Asia, right? Well, there were moments. There were moments of Rondito, right? I mean, there were moments of Rondito, I insist. Neves, Malcolm, who, well, had that time at Barca and all, because it's not, I'm not choosing precisely, Milinkovic, Savic, there were interesting people here, and, well, look, right, a bit the going to, I mean, hunting sniper, right? Also because they had a good, this is now image production. Also, because they had a good touch on the ball, but there were moments in the first half that those runs of Cancelo were really worrisome. The team that was splitting started. Xabi Alonso saying the day before, Machio, we are going we are working a lot on the issue of distances, that the team does not become spread out, that they all go as one, to have very clear concepts, very clear and concise, because you cannot work so much in such a short time. At least let things be done in an orderly way. And I always thought before the match that if certain points were touched on, like the attitude issue. Why? New competition, new coach, many days without playing. It's enough for the players to have attitude. And they tried to show, but I don't know if it was because of the heat or because things weren't going well. They started to drop a little, to the point of some players being exposed. It's true that in the second half it also improves with Müller's entry, the greater possession of the ball. Madrid had gained possession there and so on. And well, things started to improve a bit, but I thought that the attitude issue, running a little more, would mean we'd see a better image of Madrid. And we didn't see it, at least as I said, in that first half, right? We even saw a goal kicks from Bono, the Al Hilal goalkeeper. That Madrid seemed, well, we remember that image of Dembélé pressuring the Inter goalkeeper in the Champions League final, and we saw there Vinicius, Rodrigo, even Bellingham, some midfielders trying to press high, but then that dissolved like a sugar cube in liquid, right? Because when it's not so well practiced, and it doesn't go well for you because the opposing team is good at passing the ball, well, you start to lose a little motivation, right? I insist, I hope this, or that we have this feeling just because it was the first match, and that the second half, or the second match, rather, is a logical progression of the second half of the first match, right? I hope so. But come on, these images of Rondito from Al Hilal, well, they left Real Madrid fans quite, they left them quite shaken, right? Take a look here too. This is caught from the stands. They played with a lot of space, with a lot of calm, constantly finding the free man, and it's a bit like what some teams have done to us this year, you know. Here is the penalty of Valverde too. Bono here has the luck that the rebound goes 3 centimeters to the side, where his teammate arrives, and not Valverde, who was just centimeters away from hooking it with the left and maybe scoring on the rebound, right? But anyway, the play by Vinicius I was going to refer to is this one I have around here. Let's see, it's this one. Okay, well, there have been many criticisms of Vinicius. I always prioritize, and Don Amancio, for example, on Twitter, is someone who defends Vinicius with numbers and data when Vinicius is criticized in the last stages of the current season, in the last matches, or even in this one. And in this one, it's true that until a certain minute of the second half, after that, I didn't check, but people were already giving Vinicius a hard time. Vinicius had already delivered 2 key passes and had done more than some of his teammates, even though, like, Vinicius tries many times, he also fails many times, so maybe we overlook him a little, and I think it's more a critique of what we've seen you do and you don't do now, or what you're capable of doing and don't do, than anything else, right? And many people are getting annoyed with Vini. It's not my case. I insist, it's not my case. It is true that in the first half he didn't try a single dribble. The numbers are 0 dribbles attempted. Rodrigo attempted 2 dribbles in the first half. They were not successful, but, well, that's about Vini, right? This is in the second half. I think Vini had already been involved in this first double chance with 2 passes of goal, or 2 key passes in the first minutes of the second half, and it was well, the most notable until that moment of Real Madrid's match. But look here, wait, I'm going to lower the volume. I don't want it to mix. Notice here when Bellingham receives the ball, okay? He has Vinicius here. Normally here with the red arrow, the usual thing is for Vini. I know you are watching it small, but, well, I think it's noticeable. The usual thing is for Vini to advance here, right? To give an option to Bellingham, who has... You will see how Al Hilal retreats well here. They close those accesses to Bellingham, but if Vinicius, he slightly bothers their fullback, he's already drawing some attention towards the Brazilian player, which will be good for Bellingham, so that he can either connects with Vinicius, or has more options to finish the play himself, or pass it to another teammate, right? Well, Vinicius here does not move. Damn it. he does not move. Dude, move up, because the fullback, if you move, is not going to go with Bellingham. The fullback will go with you or will be keeping an eye on you. And this will make it easier for the Englishman to have more options. What's going on? The English player is also getting confused here, isn't he? Because Jude wasn't doing very well. Jude isn't doing very well either. And we'll talk more about him in another video, right? But Vinicius just stays there. He's not moving. He has the whole wing to himself. This isn't normal. A guy who used to step on the line, who would go that not only to go past his peers, but also he draws the opponent's attention just by being there. Cancelo said later, I think it's Cancelo, right? Cancelo said later that Vinicius is very persistent and keeps trying. Well, yesterday it wasn't the case. Well, here. Well, dude, I don't know. In fact, Bellingham gets frustrated because here he's asking Vinicius to at least move into that gap that has opened up so he can pass to him. The Brazilian positions himself. And Bellingham decides not to pass it to Vinicius because he doesn't move. Then, well, it gets complicated. And they end up taking it away from him, right? And this, honestly, seems unfortunate to me. I hope Xavi, as he is showing videos to the footballers, since Xavi is also a bit obsessed with video, has shown it and says, hey, look, not in my team. The other day we were talking about this positive psychology that the Real Madrid coach is using to show him his strengths and say, there, I want you to exploit that because they are your greatest strengths and I also want you to give me this. Well, I don't know if he will change his strategy at a psychological level, but at least show this and say, like, look, this is what I don't want you to do, man, what I don't want you to do, right? Or maybe the message to continue with the positive psychology of, hey, how good that you could do this, right? Or how great when you did this. And telling him something like, I understand because it was hot, maybe you come, but have all the vaca of mini vacations now, but surely in the second game you are able to do this, right? Well, yes, I don't know how he will handle it, but this has to get into Vini's head, right? Anyway, well, we'll be back later. Have a great time. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel, please, comment, share. So talking about the latest news of Real Madrid with that worrying news of Mbappe's acute gastroenteritis and the hospitalization of the French footballer there in the United States. As we learn more information, we will share it, and that's it. We'll be back in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.